welcome to my channel, Life with Annalise. I thought I would take you guys along my Saturday routine. It is pretty quiet around the house. The kids went off to piano lessons, so I am left with a wonderful, peaceful morning to tend to my plants. So what I do every Saturday morning is kind of just go around my house and look at my plants to see which one needs watering, deep watering, and which one looks to be just fine and can just wait for next week. I have my string of turtles in this terrarium, and I've noticed that even with the hot weather outside, lately we've been getting temperatures in the 90s, but my house is pretty cool still. And you know, this terrarium, because it really keeps the humidity level at a comfortable, thriving level for these string of turtles, I'm finding that I water them only once every 2 weeks, and they look very healthy. It's sitting against a wall that is west facing, so there isn't too much sun beating on it. So the way I observe my plants is I'll typically use sight and feel first. The leaves look pretty plump. They look to be thriving, and it's not thirsty and flat. So I also looked at the soil and touched the top layer. It felt moist still from the watering that I did maybe about a week ago, or even 2. So I'm going to just leave it in here. I don't really have a watering schedule for my plants. I just go through them, touch them, and when in doubt, I will pick up the pot. Like for example, this plant, the leaves look perfectly fine, but I know I haven't watered it for 2 weeks. And it's so full that it's kind of hard for me to stick my finger in and feel the soil, especially the middle part. What I'll do is I will pick it up, and the pot still feels very heavy to me. I'm going to leave this alone. I also noticed that the leaves look very healthy still. There's no signs of dry browning of the edges. Same thing with my Chinese money plant or Pilea. Just from sight alone, I see that the soil is still moist from last week's watering. The leaves also feel very thick and firm. It's not drooping. Same thing with my Carnosa Crimson Queens. Soil still looks dry, leaves are healthy. I'm going to leave it alone. I'm also noticing a lot of new leaves come out, and they look very healthy. I just water my Peperomia Hope, I would say about 2 weeks ago. And looking good. She's growing on one side of the pot. It's because she's leaning towards the sun when she was in the greenhouse. So now I want to turn her this way. And my string of hearts, as I bend the leaves, it's very thin and it bends very well, right? But as I get closer to the pot, the bare leaves, it still feels thick and firm. So I'm going to also leave my string of hearts until next week. I'm not too worried about the trailing ones because I feel like this is normal as it gets to this length. The water distribution just won't be the same as if it was shorter and closer to the root system. I routinely take my Tradescantias out and water every Saturday morning, so that's why this is empty. This is my tricolor. She sits at southeast window. She was dry yesterday, so I did take her out and watered her. It was outside of my routine, but I didn't want to wait another day. This window is a south-facing window. It gets ample sun. And I barely place these Train's Money plant, my variegated string of hearts here just to kind of test it out if it likes this location. So we will see. But I just watered these last week and they feel heavy still. All right, now let's go downstairs. This is my Ruby Cascade Peperonia. It had a few thick leaves, but most of it was somewhat thin, and it seemed like it needed a lot of water, but not so much as to get like a deep watering. I think I gave it a good deep watering about a week and a half ago. What I did was I took my water bottle and kind of just got the top layer wet. It is a very shallow root system plant, so I think this will do for the interim. This is my southwest window that all these plants are sitting at, and you can see it's thriving. Same thing with these string of hearts. I felt like even the top big leaves were a little bit soft, so I did top water it. I don't have any issues top watering my plants. Most people will say, hey, you gotta bottom water these plants, but from my experience, I had no issues. So on days where I don't feel like I need to deep water it, I will just water it from the top. My Orange River, same thing. I gave it some watering this morning. I will sometimes give it a deep bottom watering approximately every 2 weeks, and during those waterings, this is during its growing season, I do add some liquid fertilizer, but very little at a time. My variegated string of hearts. Silver Glory, you see all these condensation because I did spray some water at the top. And I pretty much much keep these plastic containers over it. I did the same for this. Ooh, it looks like I missed a Tradescantia here. Let me feel the soil, and it feels wet. It's also really heavy from last week's watering. Air plants, they're just super easy. I rarely have to do anything with them. I probably miss them every 4 weeks. These, I did soak them because I noticed they were getting really dry. So I probably let it sit in the water for 10 to 15 minutes. Take it out and kind of shake it so there's no water sitting on the inside. I've had several rot on me, and I've had to learn the hard way. Again, string of turtles in the terrarium. My orchids, I will water my orchids when I see that the roots are no longer green. It's more of a gray color. And I did water these last week, so I don't feel like I need to water it again. The roots are still green. And I'll also feel the leaves. If the leaves typically look green, happy, and thick, I'll leave it alone. This pot was my Tradescantia that I took out. Same with the macrame. I just watered this yesterday. And this one, see the top part of my string of hearts here, it's still very, very firm and thick. I'm going to leave it alone. All right, let's go outside and have a look at my Tradescantia. Here is my family of Tradescantias. I will routinely water these every week on Saturday morning. It seems to be when it's thirsty, especially the ones that are in the terracotta pots. This is my second tricolor. I've heard that their leaves are very sensitive to water. But to prevent the wrinkly burning of the leaves, I will water it even from the top sometimes, even though I'll try to avoid mostly watering the leaves and just spraying on the inside. I do leave it out to dry for maybe about an hour before I take it back inside the house, just to ensure that the water on the leaves dry up. As far as my Nanook, I don't feel like there's like a sensitivity to their leaves browning when you water from the top. I always water my Nanooks from the top. And the only time I get these browning of the leaves is when I forget to water it, or I accidentally left it out in the sun for too long. Otherwise, the leaves are just very healthy. I love that some of these newer growth leaves, because it's getting good sunlight, that it's mostly pink. And as far as for the rest of my garden, it's going to be about 90s today. I feel like it's better to water it in the evening, maybe before I go to bed, because that way it has a whole night for the soil to be moist and the root system can soak up the water. If you water your plants early in the morning during high heat like that, it'll just evaporate so fast. All Alright, so I was a few foot away from my greenhouse. This is typically my last stop, and it's probably where I spend most of my Saturdays. I pretty much just tend to whatever plants I have in here, make sure the soil is wet, they're healthy, pest-free, and everything gets a good watering. Sometimes I'll drag the hose in here and water it down. I hope you guys are enjoying your weekend. Let's stay connected.